Hi, Bowie.
Hi,
Hey!
Seline.
Hi, Michelle. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on Sunday. It's
Yes, it is Sunday, and I think it's a great time to do it because everyone's chilled out, everyone's relaxing, and
and
you
it's so
know,
hot outside, so there's nowhere else to be.
I know. Well, I'm from Dubai, so my definition of hot is like 100, degrees. But yeah, it is warm.
I'm like trying to stay indoor as much as possible, and this is a perfect place to be on the social media.
Absolutely. And we're doing what we're supposed to do. We're helping people and we're trying to elevate people's lives by sharing all this great content. And I'm so glad that we got together to do this because I feel like what we're going to be talking about today is extremely important when it comes to body confidence and learning how to feel comfortable in our skin. A lot of women struggle with that.
Mhm.
You and I struggled with that in the past, and it's been a journey for both of us, and we both addressed it in our books.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get started with talking about your book, Perfectly Normal. Um, well, just to let everyone know, how I met Michelle, how I found out about Michelle. Like I was searching for a guest from my
Mhm.
from my podcast show, The Dreamcatcher, and I came across Michelle's profile, and I read about her story, and I found it very inspirational. I really admired her courage and the things that she did to deal with the negative thinking patterns and the insecurities that came up for her uh, during her life uh, during her lifetime. So I would love for you, Michelle, to share a bit of your story and how it inspired you to write the book Perfectly
Mhm.
Normal.
And first of all, I just wanted to say, I once you reach out to me through the request, I actually went onto your website and I was checking you out, and I thought, wow, Dreamcatcher, isn't that a cool name? Because like a lot of us, living this dream of being someone else, and then tie into being perfectly normal. A lot of us think that being normal, we have to meet certain expectation. There's some elements in our life that we have to be able to follow in order to be considered as normal. And for me, it was a physical sense. It was more about my body. It didn't fit into the society. It didn't fit into the social expectation of what is considered as normal. So I wrote the book because what inspired me to write the book is a lifelong journey of living through that experience of following someone else's expectation, knowing
Mhm.
that my body is not perfect. I look into the mirror, I see this person who's really short and whose leg is all crooked, and I don't have a single pair of pants that actually was not altered in some way in order to fit my body. So for a long time, that fashion was non-existing for me. And when I look on the social media, which we'll get into today, when I look on the social media, I am following the definition of what beauty means in the whole world rather than my own definition. So I came up with the name Perfectly Normal because there's nothing normal about me, and there's still nothing normal about me, but there was a two different perspective. Before, I was thinking nothing perfectly normal about me because I look different. I'm really ashamed of how I look, but now being normal means something else. So we're going to get into our topic today. What inspires you to
Yeah,
write
you
your
want
book?
to share about a bit of your backstory about how what happened to you
Mhm.
and why you look the way that you do?
Yeah, so I had a car accident when I was 11 years old. And it was the way that I usually describe that story is that day, you know how we all get up in the morning and we all have take things for granted. We go out, we put on our shoes, and the minute that you put on your shoes, you have something to do, somewhere to be.
Mhm.
And it was a very normal, typical day. I put on my shoes, but little did I know that was the last time I was able to put on my shoes for a very, very long time. So I had the car accident when I was 11. And ever since then, for the 4 years of my life, I was in and out of the hospital. Basically, I went through 13 surgery altogether. And
Wow. Teen
and there's a
surgeries.
lot of scars on my legs that I've been trying to hide all my life.
Yeah.
I can't remove them, so they're always there. So after these 13 surgeries, basically I can't walk without assistance. Right now I walk with crutches, but like a couple of years ago I was using two arm crutches in order to walk. So being in the place where I'm walking with crutches, I can't walk very far. It was always a feeling of not good enough, in the sense that I was really ashamed of my body, and that was something that I had to live through for a good 30 years of my life.
Mhm.
So it all began from that car accident. And so
Mhm.
nowadays, when I put on my shoes, I have a tremendous amount of appreciation and gratitude for the fact that I am able to put on my shoes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a story. And it is really a process, right? This whole journey of accepting ourselves. And I'm sure that it came in waves for you. It didn't happen. It wasn't a linear process. Like there were some days where you felt crappy, and there were some days where you felt better. You felt like, hey, you know, um, this is who I am, and I accept that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what I experienced as well.
Tell me about your experience, because I know you just recently wrote a book. It's called Beauty Redefined.
I did,
Yeah.
yes.
Tell,
Um,
tell me about your
well,
book.
Beauty Redefined, like why I wrote it is because, I had to face a lot of body confidence issues because when I was younger, I was on the heavier side. I had some curves. um, and, I was bullied as a kid. I was ostracized by everybody. I had family members telling me, oh, you know, calling me a baby elephant. And um, it was it was very painful,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt so lonely. And then something in me, like when I was a teenager, I said, you know what? I want to do better. I want to feel better. I want to do better. And that led me to, you know, wanting to eat healthier. I started eating healthier. I started working out, taking care of myself. And it really didn't come from this place of wanting to look a certain way. Of course, I wanted to look better, but I also wanted to feel better.
Yeah.
So once I did that and I started losing all the weight, I noticed that the whole world changed. People started treating me better. Guys started flirting with me, which like I was non-existent before. And I asked myself, why is everybody different now? Why do they treat me differently? Because I have the same personality, I have the
Mm-hmm.
same values, I have the same heart. But why didn't you see that before? Like, why didn't you see that? Because you were so focused on what you saw on the outside. And then I said to myself, why have we become like this as a society? Why do we judge people based on what we see on the outside? They're based on their physical appearance. And then
Mm-hmm.
that got me curious. So I started doing research. I started looking into uh, why we are attracted to people on a biological level. I also looked
Mm-hmm.
at the history of beauty, how beauty has evolved over time. And I also, I looked at it from a cultural perspective because different cultures have different
Mm-hmm.
ideas of what beautiful means. So, all of that, I did all of that. And I also wanted to create this new outlook on beauty because I was so disturbed with the way women are trying like these standards that women are trying to live up to. So I
Mm-hmm.
said, I got to do something. I got to do something, even if my platform is not humongous. I
Mm-hmm.
gotta do something. I gotta put it out there, and I've gotta share my story and really hope that it would empower people in some way, because I understand how it feels
Yeah.
to not be accepted and to, yeah, to just not be seen just because of the way I look.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't take that lightly. And it's made me have so much compassion for anyone, anyone who feels like they don't fit the normal kind of
Box
box
expectations, or yeah.
expectation. I have so much compassion from them, for them. So that is something good that's come out of my pain
Mm-hmm.
of growing up in that way.
Yeah.
So that is the primary motive for me writing this book. And so, yeah, and I felt like we shared that in common,
Yeah.
and we are both on this mission to really change this paradigm
Mm-hmm.
of how we see beauty
Mm-hmm.
and how we see beauty.
I love what you share about how you start to notice that how people are treating you differently once you got onto the path of, you know what, I don't want to be called as a baby elephant anymore. I want to be called, be noticed. And it's really just to feel good about myself. And you notice how people are treating you differently. And for me, it was really difficult to change that physical aspect of it, because this is the body I'm stuck. I can't change anything else besides being this body. So how do I actually be okay with this is the body I have? And I
Yes.
may walk into an interview and people will still treat me very differently, So I think a lot of women, and they're struggling with just being okay and feel accepted by themselves and feel good about themselves, knowing that this may be the body that I will be stuck in for the rest of my life. And how do you live through that while all these people around you? And I think one of the things that I heard was also how kids can be really cruel in
Oh,
calling names,
oh,
labeling you.
they are, they can be vicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even friends, like I noticed, so my two nieces, they're on the bigger side, and they like to eat, they're very active, but they're on the bigger size. And then so when they come over to visit in my family, sometimes adult, when we have that conversation, we would say, oh yeah, they look big, they look fat, and so the word will come out. And as adult, we don't realize that they are actually taking it, absorbing it. Like I just heard you calling me big. I just heard you calling me fat. And so we don't understand that the receiver actually can take it very personal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It becomes part of your identity because it gets lodged into your subconscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and it becomes part of your negative self-talk because that's always going to echo in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So I'm curious, what is the definition of beauty? Like, how do we define beauty, and how do we get to that point? What do you think?
well, well, right now, I think beauty is such a fluid concept, and it could mean so many things to different people. But when we're looking at mainstream culture, I think we've come a long way, Michelle. Like in the 80s and 90s, I think there was this the whole supermodel era, right? Everyone wanted to look like, uh, Cindy Crawford, or one of those models who were like we would see on the magazine cover.
I
And
think you
so
just
there,
gave away your age.
sorry?
I
Yeah,
said,
I did.
I think you just gave away your age.
Well,
Cindy
I think everyone
Crawford,
knows
come
my
on,
age.
Celine.
They know my age. It's okay. So this whole Eurocentric ideal of beauty, I think, and now I feel that there's more diversity. There are more women of color. There are women who, come in different shapes and sizes. And so I think in that way there is progress. And another thing that I'm seeing is that health and wellness magazines are featuring like pictures of women with real bodies. Like now I'm seeing like Health Magazine on Instagram putting these pictures of women with cellulite or women right after they gave childbirth.
Mm-hmm.
Not sometimes not very nice to see, but it's just it's refreshing because it's showing you that there is this change in consciousness of accepting imperfections, that we don't need to look airbrush perfect. So I think that there's a lot of progress on that front, but we still have a lot of work to be done. I'm still seeing like that Instagram model culture where young girls are trying to look a certain way. Like my niece, she's 17 years old. She showed me profiles of her friends,
Uh-huh.
and they're like ages, say, 14 to 17, and they are like posing in their bikini, pouting, wearing face full of makeup. I mean, I'm not trying to say we have to be prudes and cover up. If you want to express yourself in that way, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But what bothers me is if if that stops you from exploring the deeper aspects of who you are, knowing that you're more than just the image, that you have a personality, that you have a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need to work on that a little bit, that young women and girls should know that their worth is not limited to their physical appearance,
Mm-hmm.
that they should dig deeper and present other facets of themselves to the world.
I think it's quite a challenge though. When you open up the social media, you open up Instagram, in order to have a lot of in order to have a lot of followers, you gotta create your profile in such a way that it attracts, right, the people to follow you. And what
That's
attracts people to follow you, a lot of times depending on how it look. Does it look beautiful? Does it look touched up? Does it look perfect? Right? So it goes back to that idea of being perfect. Does it look perfect? If you keep having these real life picture of you maybe holding a drink or resting and no makeup on, and you're wearing some kind of t-shirt and you're just not posing enough, then you don't get enough follower. And when I look at people who have a lot of followers, and I'm thinking, what is it that I'm doing wrong, and what's wrong with me, right? So that triggered that idea of what am I doing wrong, and what's wrong with me for not having these followers. So I think a lot of what our understanding of what beauty is came from all these medias that we are watching, the Hollywood, the people who dress up, having bigger upper bodies, right? And you gotta have the curve, regardless what kind of curve you are in. You have some kind of curve in order to make it, and
yeah,
we're all trying to make it to be seen and to be heard. And people
right.
want to have that feeling of getting noticed and appreciated, and it's the feeling that we're going after. So I think it's really challenging right now to. And there's so many different social media that's available. There's Instagram, there's TikTok, there's Facebook, there's Snapchat.
It's all visual.
Very visual. So we start to lose that focus of, beauty is more than just being the superficial part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing I want to mention, like in Beauty Redefined, in my book, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying that looks don't matter. Based on my research, it does.
Yeah.
I looked at a lot of social experiments that were done, and it does matter. And I'm not trying to like say live in this fantasy land where people just look at your personality.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way we human beings are wired. That we are wired to procreate, and we judge someone's fertility and their reproductive ability based on what we see. I mean, of course, that's happening on a subconscious level.
Yeah.
So we are wired that way. Our basic instincts drive us to be attracted to what we see with our eyes. But at the same time, we are rational human beings. We have a mind. So I think we can, as you know, you deal with negative thinking, with thoughts. We can always change our thoughts. We can change our perception. And I think that's what I'm doing, because if we are conscious of the way we think, we can change the way we see beauty. And kind of challenge that basic instinct that we have to just be attracted to looks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think I want to make that clear to people that that Michelle and I are not saying that they don't matter. They do matter. Looks do matter. But just to be conscious of when you let that like pressure you to be a certain way. Hope that makes sense.
I think it goes back to being authentic, right? So what does it mean to be authentic? And when you go to, whether it's a job interview or you're just creating a profile on social media, you want to be authentic. What does authenticity mean? It means that being real to who? To yourself. You don't want to be real to anyone else, right? So you want to be real to yourself. When you post a picture, and I always tell people, you have to be very intentional about what you're posting. And I actually had a conversation with my niece, because she had posted, she's 16 years old now, and she had posted a picture where she was kind of top half naked. And she just came out of the shower. I said, so when I saw that, I asked her, what do you try to achieve by having that picture? What are you trying to show people? And I said, well, tell me. And then she said, well, I think, I wanted to show people that I'm happy. I said, well, okay, so let me ask you this. When you look at a picture like that, can you see that person is being happy? No. Okay then, so be intentional about what you are posting, right? So if you're posting something that's top half naked, if you want to show people beauty and you want to show people, demonstrate that you are happy, you are content, then that picture needs to be a reflection of how you're truly feeling. If you can justify that, by all means, post the way, right? Because that is showing who you are, your true self. You are honoring your authenticity. But at any given point, if that is not what your intention is, why did you even post it?
Right. I love that. So just being conscious of why you're putting a picture of yourself out there. Is it because you want validation, or is it because it's a reflection of how you really feel about yourself?
Yeah. And validation is something that a lot of us seek from the outside, right? That's why we want like. How many people are on my social media doing the like? And the more like that I get, it means that I'm getting more validation. And it's a good feeling. When you get validated, it means that you're being seen, you're being heard. So we all like to be validated. But there are different ways to be validated, right? You can be validated with your ideas, with a thought, with an article. There's so many different ways to get validation from outside. And there's also validation from ourselves. And they also go back to being real with yourself, whether it's your flaws, whether it's something that's beautiful, just being real. I think it's a really important thing to think about when you think about beauty.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of women are wondering, girls and women are wondering, what does it mean to feel comfortable in your skin? Like, how do we know when we are truly we've reached that point where we accept ourselves for who we are, and that we are embracing the imperfections that we have? What are some of the signs that we have reached that point?
I think for me, I can speak on a personal level, because for me, being comfortable in your own skin means that you stop worrying about what other people think. You
Oh
go
yeah.
you go out, you
Big one.
wear comfortable clothes, right? You're not
Yes.
wearing it because you want to please someone else. You don't wear it because, oh, I
Yes.
want to look good. I want to fit in. You do want to dress up appropriately based on the event that you go to, but are you wearing something that's very comfortable, or are you wearing something that keeps you tight and feel constrained? So
Mm,
what I noticed that I feel more comfortable in wearing comfortable clothes because it's good for me and it feels good for me. I don't need to worry about you liking me. I don't need to worry about being liked. I walk in and I basically take up the whole room. I speak with my voice. Sometimes it's a little loud, but that's okay. That's me, right? Being loud is my thing. But I go into the room and I start taking up the space. And I think it's a good thing to take up space in the sense that you are owning the room. And that's a great sign that you have that self-confidence because you
yeah.
feel good no matter where you are, and you're speaking your mind. You're speaking how you feel about
Yeah.
yourself, about a lot of different things, and you're not looking for that validation. So those are the
Right.
signs for me in terms of like, how do you know that you are being comfortable in your own skin?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what
For
about
me,
you?
yeah, for me personally, it's like when I realize that I don't need to put makeup every time I go out. I could walk without any makeup on my face, and I could wear comfortable clothes, as you said. Like I don't need to dress up. So I think because I knew my worth, I didn't need people to, I didn't need that validation anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And another another sign for me was that um, I started raising my standards. I expected people to treat me in a better way, to respect me more, because I feel that women with low self-esteem are more likely to tolerate bad behavior from others, especially in romantic relationships.
Mm-hmm.
They tend to be in codependent relationships. They can even be abused emotionally, physically abused, because they don't feel like they're worth it, right? And not to say that I was in any of those situations, but I started expecting people to treat me better. I didn't, so just to put it in a crude way, I didn't take crap anymore. So,
I love it.
um, so I think like so raising my standards, I think that's a sign that you have reached that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think another sign is just this not feeling jealous of other people, not feeling competitive, not feeling the same. So if your friend tells you that you know, they succeeded in something, like they got a job or they're just looking pretty, they're wearing they just look pretty when you go out during a girls' night out or something, and
Mm-hmm.
you don't feel this tinge of, oh, you you're like, oh, you look, and you feel comfortable giving a compliment.
Yeah.
Oh, you look so good, you look so pretty, um because if you're not comfortable with giving a compliment, that's a sign that you don't feel good about yourself. You're projecting your insecurities onto that
Mm-hmm.
person.
Mm-hmm.
So I've noticed that girls who are insecure, women who are insecure, cannot give a compliment. They
Or
will never
receiving a compliment. Or receiving a compliment. I
not
know a lot of
receive, and they
women.
can't give you a compliment. They
Yeah.
just won't do it. I know some women like that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's because they just don't feel good about themselves. And it has nothing to do with how you actually look. Two of these women are actually really beautiful. Like they're stunning, but they
Mm-hmm.
will never give you a compliment.
There, I think it's a mindset of scarcity, right? If I give you a compliment, that means I'm giving away something and I'm gonna be losing it. If I give you a compliment and say, Celine, you're beautiful, I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of women are feeling, those who are unwilling to support other women, they're feeling that by giving it away, I'm actually giving away that
Exactly.
me being beautiful, giving
So
away my
true.
power. But
Yeah.
I think it's also on the other side too, is about receiving. If you're not comfortable in your own
Hmm.
skin, sometimes you feel really awkward when someone compliments you. Like, you're beautiful. how do you respond to I'm beautiful? Like some women I know, they go, they're really, they shy away from taking that compliment. And when people give you
Yes.
compliment, I always encourage people, when people say you're beautiful, go ahead and say thank you. I know. Just say I know, right? And just be
Yes.
comfortable.
Yeah,
And
I am. Yeah, I know. I am hot. I know it.
yeah,
It's like,
and thank you. Thank you for letting me know.
thank
It's
you.
something that I
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are great signs. And speaking up, like so many women who's not comfortable being who they are, being authentic, being vulnerable, they don't really speak up. And I think that's
Right.
something, a skill that we can all cultivate, is to speak up.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, if something is not right, speak up. If you are feeling
Totally.
something, speak up. Yeah.
Totally. Totally. Um, yeah, so
What
what
are some of the tips?
yeah, let's get to the tips. Let's get to the meat. So
Yeah.
what can we do? So Michelle, let's start with you. What are your top tips for body confidence?
I think my top tip would be to really get curious about your feelings. You know, at some point, you probably realize there's some feelings that's coming up for you. For
Hmm.
example, when you look at social media, when you there's some ideas and thoughts that comes up and surfacing up, and in that moment, some of us will just go to default of, I need to look at a certain way. I'm not beautiful. I don't worth it. So start catching yourself and become more conscious about being more mindful about what is it that you are feeling. And once you start creating that awareness of why am I feeling this way? Like, what is going on? Do I really want to be in other people's shoes, or do I want to really own my power and really be myself? Do I need to look for that validation? Why do I seek that validation from others? What is missing? Who am I? Just be curious about who you are. I think it's a great way to get you to the point where, you know what? It's more about discovering who you are, appreciating your quality, your talent, what you can bring and contribute to the world. So I think step number one for everybody is to become aware of what is it and how are you defining your beauty? Whose
Hmm.
definition is it? Yeah. How about you?
Right. I mean, so having that awareness, just being willing to look deeper and be like, okay, why am I feeling this way? Like, where is that coming from?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super important. Well, for Michelle, for me, like I've written a whole chapter on how to how to embody these qualities, so I don't even know how to like boil it down. But my approach is it's a multifaceted approach. You have to approach it from the mind,
Yeah.
body, heart, and spirit levels. Like you got to look at it from all angles. But I think with the mind, it starts with working with our thoughts because everything starts with our thoughts.
Yeah.
So working with that negative thinking, negative self-talk. There's so many things you can do: EFT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Work with a coach like you.
Yeah.
Work with a therapist. And for your body, I think one of the main thing is stop trying to fit into a certain dress size. Forget about the dress size. Focus on being healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on vitality.
Yeah.
Work out, eat healthy. I definitely am not instigating, I'm not promoting or supporting obesity or any kind of being at an unhealthy weight that would cause health complications.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what I'm promoting at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, if women are bigger and they feel positive, more power to them. But I'm saying be healthy, take care of yourself, because self-care is a sign of self-love,
Mm-hmm.
that you want to be better. So focus on being healthy versus being a certain dress size or a certain
Mm-hmm.
shape, and self-love, do those affirmations, really start appreciating everything about your body, because Michelle, the body is actually really, really complex.
Yeah.
Like if you really study human anatomy and you look at how the digestive system works, how the circulation system works, it's very complex.
Yeah.
When you see it from that perspective, you'll see your body like this. It's this piece of machinery that's just amazing.
Yeah.
And it's keeping you alive 24/7. So just appreciating the fact that this body is like, wow, it's a masterpiece.
And you got to
You got
take care of it.
and you got to take care of it, right?
Yeah.
And I think another thing, and on the spirit level, I think seeing yourself as more than just a body, but like a soul, right? A soul who has a purpose, who has this mission, and you're here to serve and to create a better world, to contribute. When you have a sense of purpose, you don't get caught up in the pettiness, right? You don't get caught up in the pettiness of what people think or whether
Mhm.
someone like my photo, because you have these higher ideals, these higher goals. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
just changing your approach to um, your role in your life.
Yeah.
So I think I briefly touched on every every facet of this, but if you guys want to know more, then you gotta check out
Get a
my book.
book. I love it. And I usually pretty much summarize like all that into like 3 bullet points, right? So like I said earlier about the authenticity. Are you being real to yourself? How real are you being to what you're feeling? And are you brave enough to actually step into your true power? Because a lot of us hide behind our mask or the things that the veil that we wear, right? We're not really taking ownership of ourselves. And then the last one would be that relationship, that connection that you build within yourself spiritually, and how do you connect to the rest of the world? What do you have to contribute? So I love all that. And I think one of the tip really got me going in terms of appreciating my body. Once I start practicing this mindfulness, every time I go out to grocery shop, I start picking up food label and I read nutrition labels. So the first thing that I noticed was how much sugar I was consuming on a daily basis. And
Mhm.
that was really shocking to me because I didn't realize that there's so many food that has high level content of sugar. And
Oh yeah.
I was just blindly eating all of them. And once I become conscious and become mindful about the food that I eat, I start to see how I can, really eliminate some of the unnecessary sugar content. And that was my way of self-care. So self-care can be in so many different forms. So it's just, as you're describing it, it kind of remind me of, oh yeah, at one point I did read through all the labels.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And one question I have is, when did you realize uh, that the social norm is not your norm? Like, when did you start saying, okay, I am not gonna try to fit into this prototype of beauty? When did that happen for you?
So it happened when everything had failed. Basically, my career, so the job I was at, and I was
So
in
you
the
hit rock
process.
bottom.
Yep, I was interviewing for a management position and I didn't get the position. And around that same time, relationship, I kept getting rejects. So I was dating people and they keep looking at my body rather than looking at who I am. We can
Mhm.
have great conversation, but at the minute that they see me, it was not working out. So it was a lot of added rejection after rejection. It led me to realize that, wait a minute, I've been trying to someone else. I've been trying to be this person to impress people and to get their validation, to get them to like me instead of me liking myself for who I am. And let's face it, that point I was realizing that this is the body I'm going to be stuck in for the rest of my life. Who else can love me better than me loving myself? So forget all the external validation. I'm gonna be loving myself to the very core and bottom of it, and that was it. So that was like 2016 when I finally
How did you do
realized,
that?
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. How did you start that process of loving yourself? What did that look like?
So that looked like Me getting into the gym for the first time. So my physical challenge was a big challenge for me. So I wanted to tackle what is the biggest challenge for me. So I'm going to get into shape. I don't care what shape I'm going to be in. I wanted to get into shape. So the number one things that I could remember was going to the gym. I've never been to a gym, so I signed up and going to the gym. I kind of figured any kind of physical activity would be good. So that was step number one, going to a gym. And then step number two was I booked myself a ticket, flew myself to Machu Picchu, to Peru, with my two crutches, and I
That's just crazy. That's crazy, but it's so awesome at the same time.
Yeah, and it never occurred.
I still want to go.
But anyway, you definitely need to go. It's a lot of like spiritual. It's just it's a beautiful place.
Very high energy.
Yes. Yeah. And so I'm really glad I did that. It would never occur to me to go hike Machu Picchu had it not been the point where, I was getting rejected, and I realized that physical activity is something that I need to work on for myself. Yeah. And so really self-care came because that physical activity needs to be incorporated in my life. So that was my first step, just getting involved physically, just do something physically. Hopefully that would push and get the ball going. And you did.
Yeah, because there is that mind-body connection, right? Yeah. So when you engage in physical activity, it's like that. It's telling your body that, I'm seeing my worth now, so that connection is very, very, it's there.
Mm-hmm. And it was the sense that I can actually do this like everybody else. And so at one point, I actually used the social media as a way to motivate myself, because I was looking at all these people with six packs. You know how there's a lot of women posting these six packs? I said, you know what? You can do it. I can do it. So I started using them from a different mindset as, these people are actually motivating me. I can do this. Totally. Oh. Yes.
So instead of letting it get you down, you use those photos of these women with six packs as a source of motivation.
Exactly.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So instead of putting myself down, these are, you know what? She's got six packs. I can do six packs. No problem. So I did a lot of research on like food and diet, and what are some of the healthy food to eat, what do I need to eat more of, like protein and things like that. So it was a great research type of social media to me now. I find useful information.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah. Well, for me, it started with going to the gym and being physically active, but another thing for me was being able to accept my physical features that were genetically defined. For instance, the color of my skin, the color of my eyes, my hair texture. These are things that I can't change, right? I can, but it's gonna look, with cosmetic surgery, you can do anything now.
True.
But just because, and I come from a culture like in the Indian culture, I'm sure in Asian culture as well, being lighter skinned is you're considered more beautiful if you're lighter skinned. And the longest time that impacted me, I had a relative who kept reminding me, because she's very light skinned, and she kept throwing that in my face, that I'm lighter than you. And it's just, so it came to this point where I'm just like, this is the way I look, and I'm going to do the best with what I've got. Yeah, I'm not blonde haired, I'm not blue eyed, and it's totally cool. I embrace my ethnic beauty, and this is it. And I'm going to work with what I got. And I started having these body role models who look like me. So I stopped looking at, women. I stopped looking at women who don't look like me as an inspiration. Like, for instance, like someone like Nicole Kidman, for instance, look nothing like her. Right. So I'm not going to use her as a source. She's not going to be my body model. That's something I write about in my book. I'm going to look at, say, like Priyanka Chopra or Salma Hayek, women who look more like me, just to gain that sense of aesthetic inspiration. So I think that's one more thing I recommend to the girls and women out there. Find somebody who looks like you
Mm-hmm.
for inspiration.
Yeah.
So that you can embrace your your ethnic features that you have, because that's super important, because as I said before, like earlier in the earlier decades, the century, it was more Eurocentric.
Yeah.
But now we have more women of color, so there are definitely more people out there who you can look up to. So I think that was a big part of my journey, and just uh, accepting this aspect of me that I cannot change. And
Mm-hmm.
it's great. The right people will see it and appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And honestly, perfect is boring. Perfect is boring. Being perfect is boring,
I mean, what is perfect? Like
right?
it's so subjective. Everyone
Uh-huh.
has different ideas of what perfect is, but mainstream media tries to make people believe in a certain type of perfect. So, and I think that's what you and I, people like you and me, are trying to like challenge.
Mm-hmm.
That is not
Nope.
perfection. That is not perfection. And yeah, I mean, I just want I just want young girls to know that they don't, it's not just about how you look. There's so much more to you. It's your character, it's your personality.
Mm-hmm.
uh because we need more and more women to step up their game and to show up in the world. We need, because there are certain feminine oriented skills and mindsets that can really benefit our world, like the sense of empathy.
Yeah.
They have a sense of empathy. They're good with relationships and negotiations. I mean, look at the current prime minister right now, Jacinda Ardern. I don't know if you're
Uh-huh.
familiar with her. She's an example of someone who's pretty, but she's using her life to do great things in her
Amazing
country
things.
and world. So I mean, you're so much more than what you look, what you see in the mirror. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so be willing to explore that and to express that. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I also think that just being able to speak up, like if you there's a reason why we're all here in this world. We all have very important mission and purpose in this world. There's so many things that you can contribute, and there's so many part of you that is just really special and it's very unique. So we need women supporting each other to speak up and to be really supportive of each other. We need to celebrate and champion each other and give compliment. Give compliment freely. That's one thing that you can do right now, to just compliment someone in your life and you think that they are beautiful, not from the physical world, but just their mind, body, and soul. Just compliment them. So yeah.
just be nice, people. Just be nice.
That nice can be challenging sometimes for a lot of people, and hopefully by us coming together, that we're sharing our message, that people know that there's quality within themselves, that you are very capable of sharing that compliment, sharing your quality, and contribute, not just looking pretty and looking for validations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Okay, Michelle, that was so much fun. For everyone out there, if you enjoyed our conversation, please do check out our books.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Michelle, it's perfectly normal. Would you like to give a bit more information about where they can learn more about the book and buy it, or
Sure.
whatever,
So,
download
so
it?
if they're interested to check out my book, it's called "Perfectly Normal: An Immigrant Story of Making It in America," and you can find it on my website at elevatelifecoaching.org. There's a tab on the website, and you can just click on "Order Book," and it will take you directly to the book. Seline, where can people find your book?
So my book is Beauty Redefined. You can download a free chapter on beautyredefinedbook.com.
Yay! I was checking that book out earlier, and I'm like, I want this book.
Okay. I will be sending a signed copy to you soon. I will do it. I will do it. I'll make sure it gets to you.
Yeah, it's a great book. I already like saw the cover
Yeah.
page and I was reading the synapse. And I want
Oh,
this book.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sending your book. I'm definitely looking forward to reading it and, reading more about your journey. But yeah, I know what your story is in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and I truly honor you for all the progress you've made in your life and how you're using, whatever you learned to make your contribution and to improve the world in the best the best way that you can.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I love her podcast. I love Celine's podcast. Where can people listen to your podcast? Because I was on on her podcast, not too long ago.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can find my podcast on my blog, thedreamcatch.com. So that's thedreamcatch.com. And you just click on podcast, that's on the menu, and you will be taken to the
The
podcast.
podcast is amazing, by the way. She's doing a lot of amazing things, and it all like, and you're the most beautiful woman I know.
Oh, thank you. That's
You
just so
are. And you were saying about the feature. I love like the Indian feature, and there's something that a lot of Asian we don't have. Well, our eyes are always smaller. So I love how your eyes really pop, and it actually, because eyes are the window of the soul, right? So like eyes are everything.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that just very quickly mention, I in my research, I found out that something a lot of Asian women do is they do the eyelid surgery so that their eyes
Mm-hmm.
are bigger, which is such a shame because your eyes are so adorable. It's so,
But yeah, the light skin, big eyes, we want to look like a doll that
we
doesn't
want to
have.
look like, yeah, exactly, we want what we don't have, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And
no, guys,
if we were to put all the features that all the women want to under the same doll, it's gonna look really ridiculous.
I know. So, yeah, so stop chasing an ideal, just work with what you got. God gave you these features, work with them, and you are beautiful no matter what color you are, what hair texture you have, what eye shape you have. So,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to end with that.
Yes, great way to end it.
Yeah,
And if you guys have any question, make sure to DM us and find us on Instagram.
absolutely. Yeah, send us your questions and we'd be happy to answer them.
Yes. Woo!
Okay,
Bye,
everyone have
Celine.
a great Sunday and thanks, Michelle. This has been wonderful.
Bye. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.